Hello again. This is Michelle Landry with Health Coach Impact. You are watching the interview show that is featuring health coaches from all over with all different types of professions and niches. And today we have Angelique Santana. Hi, Angelique.
Hi, how are you?
I am so excited for this interview. It's like we were talking, what was it, a couple weeks ago, and I think we just kept on talking and talking and talking, and it's like, so I'm really excited to be able to have you on the show. You have so many different things to offer and to share with our audience, and just a really different perspective on where you took your health coaching and what you're doing with that foundation. So you're an author and you're a chef. So I'm going to let you take it, and you can tell the story better than I can. So go for it.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy that my story resonated with you so that I could be a part of your new project. And yeah, so basically, you and I have in common IIN, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition.
Yep.
I completed my health coach certification at the end of 2012. I did the 1-year program. And halfway through the program, and we were, while we were learning different dietary theories, I was reminded of this like vegan and then raw vegan. And I'm a huge fan of Matthew Kenny, who is prominent in the raw food world.
Mm-hmm.
And I had met him in 2008. So this is like 4 years later, I have his raw 30-day, I think some raw express book. And so I was like 50 pounds overweight at the time. I had moved from New Jersey to Florida. I don't know why. It was just something that I wanted to do. So my partner and I, we were recently married, and we moved to Florida. And I was transitioning out of my career in health and wellness, like at a gym. I was working for a luxury gym at the time, and looking for a way to bridge the gap between my love of food and fitness. And a friend of mine had said, you should go to IIN. And I'm like, I don't know. And then like, I did it anyway. And it was probably the best decision I ever made. Actually, not probably, it was the best decision I ever made. And every event that led up to that moment was the best decision I ever made, even though I didn't know why I was choosing to do those things. And so again, 6 months through the program, I decide 50 pounds overweight for the first time in my life, not knowing how I was going to get healthy, because I didn't know how I got unhealthy. And, and I'm in the industry, and I've been in the industry like my whole life. And so I'm like, I'm doing 28 days. I'm going to do raw vegan. I'm eating mostly anything in this book. And by the end of it, I lost 25 pounds.
Wow.
And I felt so great. I felt great, but I also was looking forward to the end of it so that I could go and have one of my favorite meals, which was sushi at a place local to us. Mm-hmm. And I remember going there, and I was eating, and it didn't feel the same, even though emotionally I was very excited about having that, and the experience wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I kind of left there like unsatisfied. And, it wasn't until much later that I realized that it was because I had been eating so clean for the past 28 days that going back to eating fish, and raw fish at that, right? Mm-hmm. And then just like other things that I knew about, eating raw fish and parasites and things like that. Like it all just came like flooding in, and I was like, I don't know if I could do this. And so I did go back to eating, my standard American diet. But little by little, like I think at that moment, I definitely gave up red meat. Chicken and eggs and cheese and fish were the last things they gave up. But cooked fish, not, like shrimp scampi or something like that, And then I gave up all of it. Like I gave up all the meat, red meat, poultry, fish. I gave up all the animal proteins and went vegetarian. I stayed vegetarian for like about 2 years. And then I tried 3 different times to go vegan, mostly because I was surrounded by people that were vegan. I was working at a vegan cafe, like a plant-based cafe, and I was managing that. And, you know, I knew what the 28 days did for me. And so, so finally, you know, and then this is after I left the cafe, but I finally, like, I think I already became a vegan chef. You know, I left everything and became a vegan chef, and I went vegan. So I've been vegan ever since then. So 2014. So it's almost 5 years now.
Wow. Wow. That is a journey. That is a journey. I mean, and to do it right, that is difficult for a lot of people. So I think they can learn a lot from you and what you have put in place. So talk to me about your book and how it is that you came to write that book and what really spurred that on for you.
So the same friend that recommended I go to IIN, she encouraged me she said to me, like, do what makes your heart sing. And I was like, you know, I really want to cook for people. And I think it spurred from the fact that, you know, from my personal experience, right, having been so focused on my career and climbing the corporate ladder that, you know, everything else became more important than me. And so, you know, I left the cafe and started, you know, cooking. I got my first 2 clients at a party. And at the same time, you know, I was doing a lot of personal development. You know, I completed, you know, 4 courses with Landmark Education, and I worked with coaches. And so my first coach was actually, well, not my first, my second coach was my client. And she runs, you know, a women's group, and she invited me to join. And so I spent time with her there, but I was doing a mastermind, and it was really all about growing my business as a personal chef and getting up to a number of clients that I wanted to get. And then when I got to that number, she was like, okay, so what's next? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, you're going to write a book. And I was like, I don't know about that. So I didn't really have any plans to write a book, but I got very excited about the idea and the prospect of it. And I was like, oh my God, here I am, and I know some people would probably disagree because I'm like an extroverted introvert, but I have spent most of my professional career, you know, behind the scenes, like in a supporting role, like in operations, you know, and even as a general manager, I still kind of, you know, was always pushing my staff forward. You know, I wanted their growth and development was very important to me because I knew if they were successful, I was successful, you know, and I'd already gotten to a certain point. And of course they would elevate me if they elevated themselves. And so, you know, in saying that to you now, I see that, you know, it's probably the same thing for me with the food, but so I wrote this book, and, you know, I call it Food is Love. I brought it with me so I could show you. And so one of my really good friends from 7th grade, she designed the book. And then I was introduced to another friend who did the photography. But so Food is Love is really about my experience with my clients and how when I started my business, my first clients were single women entrepreneurs. And then I started cooking for a family, and then more families, and then events. You know, my first big event was my client who inspired or, you know, pushed me to write this book was, and I say push in the most positive way ever. But, you know, she hired me to cook for her graduation. So when you complete her coaching program, there's a big graduation. So there was like 100 people there. And there was a woman there, Martha. She asked me if I had a cookbook. And I was like, no. And this is like my first year doing this, and like book was not on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, when you do, I'm going to be the first person to buy it. And I'm like, okay. And then, I wrote the book. So she definitely has a copy. But, my experience in cooking is, cooking for singles, cooking for families, cooking for events, like graduations, birthdays, like an intimate birthday party. I did a date night for a couple that, the husband's wife was following me on Instagram, and he wanted to surprise her by bringing me to the house to cook for them, which was pretty awesome. And then retreats, which I really, really enjoy a lot. I get to spend a whole weekend with these women who have no idea that I'm going to be, they know I'm cooking, but they have no idea that it's all going to be vegan. Because, people still have questions like, what does vegan actually mean? And like, so you don't eat fish and you don't eat chicken and, it's very rewarding. It's very satisfying for me. And even for the people who are participating, they really enjoy the experience. And so I love that. So the book is broken down into 4 parts where I talk about, so I kind of broke it down into food as an expression of love, right? Because we all love to cook meals or take people out. And so the first part is love of self, and that is the experience I had cooking for my singles. And then love of family clearly speaks for itself. And then love of each other when we share, like my clients shared me with their people. And then the last part is all my love and how I learned so much from that experience. And it took me a while to even tell people how I transitioned out of corporate America and started cooking, because I didn't complete culinary school. I did do a raw chef certification, and then I did another one, another raw sports nutrition. It wasn't all raw. It was a vegan sports nutrition course that I took with Matthew Kenny, and I completed 3 weeks of culinary school, but I was already vegetarian by then. And so when we started like trussing chickens, and I was like kind of looking, I thought I could do it because I thought, okay, I'm going to learn all this stuff and maybe be able to, mimic those flavors in a plant-based diet. But I couldn't even get through the coursework, and I really, really struggled to make the decision to leave. But all of that, a lot of this, what I'm telling you now, is in the book. I tell my story. I talk about my experience. My whole philosophy is about keeping things simple, because I think life is complicated enough. The title of the book is Food is Love. There are no rules in food and love, because we live in a society bound by so many, we're bound by so many rules or belief systems and different paradigms that just kind of continue generation after generation after generation, instead of kind of, experiencing for ourselves and making our own decisions. And so, it was my decision to become vegan, and none of my clients are vegan. And my approach is not to make you go vegan or pressure you into going vegan. We don't even really talk about it. I have a client now who, when I first started working with her, said, I'm not vegan. I have no plans to go vegan and have zero interest in it, but I do want to be healthier because I gained a lot of weight. And, without even really knowing my story, that's what she said to me. And I was like, you're perfect for me. We're perfect for each other, because you're the exact kind of person that I choose to work with, want to work with, and have always worked with. And so, that's who this book is for. It's for anybody, vegan or not vegan, it doesn't matter. It's vegetarian, you make it your own. I try to keep things very simple. And, I have people make my zucchini lasagna and put real cheese on it. That's your choice, and it's totally up to you. I think my goal in general, like overall, like big view, is that, we see food as this, it's like a weapon almost, it's a tool to kind of get us to where we want to go. And we're not really enjoying the process, and some of the foods that we do enjoy are the worst foods for us. And so how do you find joy in fresh fruits and vegetables, or even cooked for that matter, So, I hope, my hope is that people do make the recipes, they buy the book, they use the recipes, and then they make them their own, because there are a lot of spices and flavors that we don't all like the same. And it's you get to me and they ask me questions, and I'm totally open to that. And I love the responses, I love whether it's a post or, because I'm on Instagram and my phone number is there and my email and on my website. So you can really just communicate, and I try to get back to people as soon as possible. But it's been a great experience. I'm happy that I did it, and I'm working on the second book.
That's exciting. That is so exciting. Now, I want to kind of go back a little bit. So you said that you got your first 2 clients at a party and just kind of organically grew from there. Now, how did you approach the subject? Was it something that you brought and then, they were just like gaga over it? Or, it's like, how did this kind of naturally unfold for you? And then what did you do to keep the process going?
Yes. So I was invited to a baby shower, and so I went to the baby shower and everybody was bringing something, and I brought with me a brown rice stir fry with vegetables. And one of the girls that was there, she's like, "Hey, are you going to this other party that we're having like in a week or two?" And I was like, I didn't know about it, but let me ask. And so I asked, I said, this girl asked me about this and if I would bring the same dish to that party. And my friend was like, "Yeah, of course." And I said, she's like, "But people are bringing things." I said, "Perfect. I'm not even going to participate in whatever you guys are doing. I'll hang out in the kitchen and heat up everything or cook things and, and bring my dish, of course, and whatnot." And so while I was at that party, after they finished doing what they were doing, everybody came to eat. And, I knew people there. Like I pretty much knew everyone there. And so got to talking, and another girl that was there wanted to leave her job, and she was a hairdresser. And so we got to talking, and I was like, "Yeah, I want to cook for people." And she's like, "You should just do it." I'm like, "You should just do it." And telling her my story. And so 2 of the other ladies there, the one hosting at her house, and she was like, "I would love for you to cook for me." And then another girl was like, "I would love for you to cook for me." And I was like, "All right, let's do this." And so, so the hairdresser girl that I was speaking with, she was like, "You should send your resignation letter right now." And I was like, "You're crazy." And I'm like, I've been trying to quit my job for this would be like the 3rd time I'm trying to quit my job. So I was like, all right, I never did put it in writing. So I did. I sent an email, I think that night.
Oh, wow.
And yeah. And then like a couple of weeks later, I started cooking for my first client.
Oh, you just jumped in on the deep end.
Yeah. I was still at that job, I was, because they were my friends and they knew what I wanted to do, and they were fully supportive of that. And so, I was able to kind of like transition out. And as a matter of fact, so how did I continue that, is they referred me, my next client after that came in, and I had met her before. We knew each other, but she had gone in and asked them, "Hey, I'm looking for a chef. Do you know anybody who can prepare healthy meals for me?" And they're like, "Yeah, Angelique is a chef now. You should call her." So she reached out to me, and I actually still cook for her today. Like I just cooked for her when I was last in Florida.
Wow.
And then she referred me to the person who actually told her to hire a chef. And then, you know, everybody just, honestly, every client I've ever had was a referral.
That's amazing. Yeah, it can go wildfire, especially if you keep it up and you're out there and you're talking with people.
Yeah.
What a concept.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're back. And so just like we were saying before, you kept that going because you were in that space and you were actually talking to people. What a concept of actually talking to people, right? Yeah. I have so many health coaches that are like stuck but they want to stick behind their computer, but you weren't behind your computer this whole time. You were out there doing something, talking with people, getting in and literally getting your hands dirty, right? And actually doing something to keep the momentum going and creating those relationships, those face-to-face relationships with people. So
it's really important because you know, I actually struggle with the behind the camera thing, you know, and being on the computer. Like you know, something I discovered was that I'm like really not a good sharer. Like I don't share well, or I hadn't been a good sharer. So you know, so like I was saying, introverted extrovert or whatever, and I like when I'm in front of people I'm on, you know, and then but I do like my quiet time and to kind of be not so busy around people, but I love food, I love cooking for people, you know, I love music. You know, when I'm in the kitchen I realized that I needed to have music, so I got really good headphones. And then I had to go wireless because I kept getting caught on the hook of handles of different cabinets in the house. I like went through 3 sets of headphones and finally went wireless. But you know, the whole experience for me is just so. It's not even a like rewarding. It's just so fulfilling. You know, I just really get filled up by it. And people always say, do you cook for yourself? Like, I'm like, yeah, I could cook all day at somebody's house and then I could go home and make myself something to eat. No problem.
Yeah. And you've found your passion. You found what it is that lights you up. So, and you actually cook for people in 2 different parts of the coast on the country, you know, so right. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, you know, I started my business while I was living in Florida, and I was there from September 2010 until April of 2017. So I just celebrated 2 years back here in New Jersey. And so even though I had come back here, you know, my one client who I cooked for her retreats and she would host a gratitude brunch for her clients. And so I went back for both of those events, and then I got hired to do a wedding there because somebody said my name on some post on Facebook. And yeah, so now, you know, this year especially, I've been really focused on going back at least once a month so that I could cook for my clients. You know, because they have missed me, which is really nice. And so, yes, and so I just, you know, kind of maintaining my connection there. And of course, who doesn't want to go to Florida every now and then, especially during the winter here? And so, yeah, I'm still doing retreats. I picked up another retreat at the beginning of May with someone new. Still continuing to work with the woman who started it all with the retreats. And then I have a retreat here in Pennsylvania in September. And I'm just kind of like building upon that because I really do enjoy that experience. And it keeps me busy.
Right.
And I get to reach more people, you know. So I do love being in the kitchen and cooking for people, but I can only be in one kitchen at a time. And, you know, I used to work 6 days a week, and then I had to get down to 5 days a week because I actually was doing too much, and I ended up with pneumonia, and it was terrible. And then, and so really, my goal is to have a global voice and to kind of show people that, you don't have to be vegan to enjoy vegan cuisine.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, here in our house, like, I'm with my siblings and we're with my mom kind of helping to, take care of her. And I'm like, you guys eat all my food. And then I'm like, why am I getting mad about it? Like, I love that they're doing that. I should love that they're doing that, And I think mostly from a sharing perspective, it's like, I can't have what they have, but they can have what I have, which is a good problem to have, and it's not even a problem. As a matter of fact, like now everybody eats vegan butter here. There's only one butter.
Mm-hmm.
There's still 2 mayonnaise, but there's 1 butter.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the small victories.
That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
On top of what you do as a personal chef and doing these retreats and all of that, we also crossed into another area that you started working with. And I'd like you to be able to tell our audience about that, because that really, I was like, oh my gosh, more places need to have people like you. I'm not going to say who it is, but so I want you to talk about what we were talking about.
Okay. I'm like, what is she talking about? So in this, like at the end of August, I started cooking at a local university here. They asked me if I would be interested in it's really a gluten-free program, but because I'm vegan, they were like, you do whatever you want. We just need someone who really knows what they're doing and who loves what they do. And, they have a separate meal plan program that they developed at this school, because a lot of students, faculty, and staff were asking for gluten-free food items separate from what is out in the main cafeteria. And so twice different items for them. And I have my own little refrigerator, and I pack and label everything, and it's all gluten friendly. That's what they say, gluten friendly. And so, yeah. And so it's been a great experience. The school year is about to wrap, so this is my last couple of weeks there. But it's been really great. I actually just met one of the staff members there yesterday. I was there, and I had just walked in. I was going to go take inventory in my little refrigerator. And she was like, Angelique. And I was like, yeah. She's like, I'm Marissa. I was talking to Tom, who's the food director. And she's like, I really love your falafel. And I was just wondering if there was a way that you would share the recipe with me, because it's not in the book. And I was like, yeah, I could totally do that. I'm like, just send me an email so I don't forget. And I just got it this morning. So
you should put it on your blog.
So
if
it's
you have a
awesome.
blog, you should put it on your blog, or start a blog, or do something so you can put all these wonderful recipes and such. Hire a VA that can read your scribble scratch, and they can put it on a blog or something.
Yeah.
So, but I love that, because I have a son that is in college, and we've already discussed this, but our listeners haven't heard this. So, and he goes to a very, very small university, and they send these notices out during finals, like a couple weeks before finals or a month before finals. And it's like, oh, bless your child and let them know you care, and, send this care package. And no joke, it's just candies and cookies and all kinds of junk. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they are getting these kids that are supposed to be focused for finals on all of this junk food. And then their cafeteria doesn't have, the only real food they have is this subpar type of, salad bar maybe. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do they have these kids eating? And I absolutely love that the university that you're working with part-time has that option, and that you're able to really feed these kids good food. And that's something that I think if anybody is in the university, college, administration, you need to be listening to this, because, and talk to Angelique, because this is so needed for our young people. And with how, I mean, they're already under a lot of stress. They're already under, living somewhere different, and, there might be the first time with home or whatever. And having that wholesome food available to them, oh my gosh, what a blessing. And I just don't know what to say. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's very true, especially for first year students, living away from home, on a meal plan, mom's no longer cooking for them, home cooked meals. And so, and then you're on your own. And so, when I heard about it, I was excited, because first the conversation started off as they were telling me about the gluten-free program. And then, it was like, oh, we actually have some people who are vegan and vegetarian. And, so they do have vegetarian items, but not vegan. And even though the vegan community is not so big, it's like, again, any one of those people, the gluten-free, the vegan, or the vegetarian, can eat anything in that refrigerator. And so I think it's great, I think it's really great. It's very conscious, it's very mindful, and it's very, there's a lot of love in that refrigerator. And so I think that, my experience in speaking with people who are eating from there, or feedback that they give to me, is that, everybody's really enjoying it. And it's allergen free, so there are no nuts and seeds or anything. Like I can't make anything with any nuts or seeds. Like, so there's no tahini in my hummus, and there's, there are no nuts. So
wow.
So it's
wow. Yeah. So any of those extra recipes and such that are not in your book, start a blog, start doing something, so I absolutely love it. I absolutely love what you have done and how you've used, that catalyst of health coaching and being part of the IIN community, and it's just blossomed and it keeps on growing for you, and how involved you are, and you just keep on sharing, and you keep on sharing, and you keep on sharing, and because you keep on sharing your gift and your passion, it's growing. And that is such a testament to just being you and sharing and being able to show people that if it's really in your heart and it's really something that you really want to do, the floodgates will open for you. You're living proof of that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I know, like, I finished my health coach certification. I desperately wanted to coach people, and I did my practice coaching sessions and things like that. But, because I found food, I found that I was able to coach people through the food. So it's like, I cook for you, but you're learning so much through the process, So if you have high cholesterol or you have high blood pressure, and I've had clients come to me with those concerns. And so without, I don't ever say, oh yeah, I'm going to cure you and heal you, because, we don't know, right? Like, I cook for you, but you don't eat just my food all the time. But I did have a client who had a heart attack right before I started working with him. And shortly after he came home and is in recovery, he had a follow-up visit probably 6 weeks after working together. And he was like, my cholesterol dropped 30 points and my doctor wants to know what I'm doing. And another client with high blood pressure, beets are very good to manage high blood pressure naturally. And so I started doing beet smoothies with her, and other beet recipes, and then using the beet greens, you can saute them and eat them. And her and her husband were like, who knew that there was beet greens and that you could eat them? Like, who knew that? And so, those are everything is customized, so to your taste. If you don't like a certain spice or a certain food item, we won't use it. And I get requests to make different things, so I have shepherd's pie in this book, but I didn't come up with that. Like, someone asked me if I would make it. And it became one of my most popular dishes because I was like, I've never done it, but I'll try. And, and I love doing those things. I love when people ask me to do things that are not in my comfort zone. I mean, this whole process was out of my comfort zone. I had like zero idea, when I spoke with my first coach. She's an IIN grad. Her name is Rachel Feldman. And I went to her.
I'm very familiar with Rachel.
Yeah, so I met her at the vegan cafe that I was working at. And I just was so drawn to her, and we connected. And then I did a session with her, and she's like, well, what's holding you back? And I'm like, well, I feel like I need to go to culinary school. And, and she's like, why? Don't you know everything you need to know? Don't you cook already? And I was like, I do, but like, where are people going to get my credibility from? Like, if you don't go to culinary school, how credible are you? But the truth was, at the time, I'm in Florida, and the vegan schools are here in New York or on the West Coast. And I wasn't moving. And so I had to figure it out. And, it didn't take that much, but it took being pushed just that little bit, by a couple of different people, and here I am. And so I'm like super grateful for every single person in my life that had played a role, even if it was, no role is too small. They're all really big.
Right. Yeah. I mean, every single step is part of your story, and it's progressing in that and really taking the wisdom of others and utilizing it and believing in yourself. And I think that that's where the beauty comes from, is you took those steps. You decided, yeah, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to, put that, notice for my job, just kind of keep on taking these steps. And it's scary. It is so scary at the time.
Scary as hell.
Yeah. It is. It's really scary. It's really scary. Yeah. But at the same time, you're able to see this amazing journey that you've been able to accomplish, and who knows where it's going to take you. So
yeah, I mean, it's not always easy, but it's always worth it. It's cliche, but it's so true.
It is, especially when you're following your passion, you're following, and keeping yourself grounded in relationships, and not pulling yourself back, but keeping yourself going.
Yeah, and it takes asking for help sometimes, which I'm also not very good at doing, asking for help. I'm always like, I got it. But, I've been very supported by friends, but mostly by my family. I have an amazing brother and sister. And so they've been really, really great.
That's amazing. Yeah, having that support system is big, and having a coach. I mean, you reached out to Rachel. Rachel's an amazing business coach. I love her. I actually was working with her coaching for a while too, and just some amazing programs and systems. And yes, I'm plugging her too, because she's just an amazing coach. There's so many different amazing coaches out there, and it's a matter of using it and moving forward. I know a lot of her programs I integrated into my stuff, and it just moves you forward in your passion, in what you do. And that's why, as being a community, especially with IIN grads, where we are this like tight-knit community. I know there's some really amazing other health coaching schools out there. IIN is the grandfather of it all. So we have this amazing community of coaches, and being able to be supported by one another is just, I think it's been a real blessing for all of us, and it's a really great place to be.
Yeah, without a doubt. A lot of the people that I'm talking about, Rachel, Elena, Alina, Melissa, they're all Michelle, all five of them are IIN grads. And so, and I met them organically. It wasn't like I met them because they went to IIN, you know, it just kind of, I was introduced to them, and, you know, it's just been like wildfire from there. And I still maintain, you know, close relationships and communication with them all. And yeah, you know, the thing is that, you know, I think a lot of people get stuck in their head thinking, well, they're doing this, so I can't do it. But, you know, there's like a room for all of us. And so it doesn't matter, you know, if maybe your subject is the same, you're what's different, you know, you're what is special. And so people connect with you and why you do what you do, and not really necessarily what, you know, they know why they're coming to you, and you know why you're doing what you do. And so there's enough room for all of us.
I totally agree. I call it proof of concept. It's like, yeah, somebody else is doing it. It works. I'm going to go ahead and do that too. Because,
well, that's good.
Yeah, you're going to have your own spin. You have your own personality. You have your own experiences to bring to the table. So it's going to be a completely different picture. It's like when you go to those, you know, when you go and take a painting class and everybody else is doing the same painting.
Oh, yeah, right.
They all turn out different because everyone has their own different personality, and that's exactly how our businesses are. There's so many different people out there that there's not one way that it's all going to ever come out the same. There's no way. There's absolutely no way.
Exactly.
So, well, Angelique, this was an amazing conversation. I absolutely love the time that we got to spend together. I know we can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. But how is the best way for people to get in touch with you, be able to see your work?
So I am all over social media. Eat with Angelique is my business. And so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you know, LinkedIn, Angelique Santana, you can find me there. The book, Food is Love, you could find at foodislovebook.com, or you can just basically search me on Amazon. You know, I self-published there. And yeah, that's it. Eat with Angelique. Eat with Angelique.
Awesome. And I will definitely have all of that in the show notes on whichever platform you're coming to us from. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook. Health Coach Impact is YouTube, Health Coach Impact on Facebook. You can find this and other interviews also on my page for Michelle Landry on LinkedIn. And then we are also going to be posting this once I'm ready to. We'll be posting these on iTunes. So if you're listening to us on iTunes, you're going to be able to hear a lot of other interviews. So go forward and listen to the different interviews here on iTunes if that's where you are getting this from. So thank you again, Angelique, for being an amazing guest. And I look forward to seeing more of what you have coming up and hearing about your next book when it comes out.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed my time with you and looking forward to seeing all that you create.
So, everyone, subscribe whichever platform you're on. Subscribe, like, give me some really good positive feedback as to what it is that you like, what it is that you want to hear. And if you're a health coach and you'd like to be interviewed on this show, just reach out to me at healthcoachimpact@gmail.com. That'll go to me, Michelle Landry. So that's healthcoachimpact@gmail.com. Or you can get me on any of the social media platforms also. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll just see you the next time. Bye-bye, everyone.